Yo, what's up guys? It's Jeff, and today we have some awesome news for you guys. Earlier today, Apple announced the iPhone SE 2020, and then just a few hours later, we were seeing the update for iOS 13.4.5 Beta 2. Now, we have some news regarding the Apple keyboard with Trackpad as well, and the AirPods lineup, so make sure that you don't go anywhere. We have a lot to talk about today. Now, before we get into everything, make sure to hit that like button, get subscribed, and hit that notification bell button as well. It helps out the channel and also ensures that you get updates whenever we release content in the near future. So with that said, let's get on to the big news, starting with the release of iOS 13.4.5 Beta 2. Now, specifically with the first beta of iOS 13.4.5, we really weren't seeing much as far as new features or anything like that goes, which was pretty disappointing, but totally understandable given iOS 14 is literally right around the corner and bringing some pretty big features at that. But Beta 1 did fix a lot of issues that we were seeing in iOS 13.4, and I think that with Beta 2 we might be seeing a little bit of the same of that, just bug fixes and everything like that. But first off, let's review the notes here for this update of iOS 13.4.5 Beta 2. Now, the update size was 191.2 megabytes for my iPhone 11 Pro Max, but the actually good news with that was it saved 2 gigabytes of storage for my iPhone. Now, for me, I don't really worry about storage, but if you have a device that maybe is low on storage and you need a little bit more, this will actually save you just about 2 gigabytes of storage. Maybe it always depends on which device that you have, but for me personally, I saved about 2 gigs of storage updating to this latest beta, which is actually really good. Now, the motor firmware is still 1.06.00, so same as what we were seeing in Beta 1. And let's check out the new build number. It's 17F5044D. Now, that D does indicate that we likely will see another beta before we see the official release of iOS 13.4.5, just because we're on that letter D. If it was an A, it would likely be one of the last versions that we see. But since we see that D in there, we might be getting a Beta 3 of iOS 13.4.5 very soon. Now, let's get on to the changes for Beta 2. And there are actually a lot of fixes in Beta 2, which kind of fix some of the issues that we saw in iOS 13.4.1 and also issues that we saw in Beta 1 of iOS 13.4.5. So first off, overheating. It was an issue with the iPhone 10 and 10s. A lot of users were reporting that basically their devices were overheating for no reason whatsoever. And overheating does lead to bad battery life. So those two were kind of entangled together, but that issue does seem to be fixed now. I have an iPhone 10. I've been using it for just about 30 to 40 minutes, no overheating issues whatsoever. And that actually was happening almost all the time on the first beta of iOS 13.4.5. So it wasn't an issue that just was random. It was happening quite a bit. Now, also a Bluetooth bug has been fixed. So basically the media would just completely stop playing, whether I had AirPods or maybe in regular pair of Bluetooth headphones, media would just stop and I'd have to go back and start it up again. It was really annoying. It looks like that issue was still present in iOS 13.4.5 Beta 1, but it looks like that issue has been fixed here in Beta 2. I thought it was fixed in Beta 1, but it was actually fixed in the iOS 13.4.1 update and not in Beta 1. So it was a little bit confusing, but it looks like that issue is finally fixed here in Beta 2. Now, the last issue that I was having personally was lockups on my iPhone 11 Pro Max. This device was locking up almost all the time for no issue, like no reason whatsoever. I couldn't figure out what the issue was. There's just a lot of lockups where it would basically freeze for about 10 to 20 seconds and then I could go back to normal. But during that time, I'd be pressing a bunch of buttons and then it would just slow it down even more when it was back up and running. So that was a major issue. So far, no lockups so far, but I had lockups maybe like 10 times in the last week between Beta 1 and Beta 2 here. So it looks like as far as now goes, they're not here, but I will update you guys on if I do experience those in the near future. Now, past those changes and bug fixes, we really didn't see anything else new, and that was to be expected, but we do still want to talk about when the official version is coming out for iOS 13.4.5 because it might be sooner than you think. We'll get into that though after the iPhone SE news because those two are sort of tied together. So let's move on to the iPhone SE 2020. Yes, it was announced today by Apple and it looks really nice. So as far as the design goes, it looks very similar to the iPhone 8. And if you say, oh, I got confused, it looked like the iPhone 8. Yes, it is literally a recycled version of the iPhone 8, but I am not complaining because we have some new specs in here that totally decimate the iPhone 8 and what we saw with the iPhone 8. So let's get on to those specs. We have a 4.7-inch Retina HD display on the new SE 2020, a new A13 Bionic chip, which is what we got in the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro series. So just what we were seeing in the fall has been implemented into Apple's new budget lineup phone, so that's really cool. And the A13 Bionic chip, if you decide to get this phone, does ensure that you will be getting software updates for a very long time, just as long, I would likely say, as the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro series. So that is super exciting for those of you who want to upgrade and want to basically maintain software support for a very long time. Now, we're also seeing Wi-Fi 6 and Express Card capabilities with the new iPhone SE. Also, we have Touch ID. That is going to be your main security interface there. We don't have Face ID, obviously, because Apple wanted to keep the cost low, but what we do have is a 12 megapixel camera that is nothing really stellar, but the iPhone cameras are always really good. So that is always really nice to see on a budget phone, that we're still getting very similar cameras to what we were seeing on the latest iPhones, but not quite there. The portrait mode for the iPhone SE 2020, yes, it does still have portrait capabilities, but it is only for humans. So we've seen this before, and that's not really that much of a drawback. If you want to take pictures of a plant or anything like that in portrait mode, just go get yourself the latest and greatest. But I think most people are taking portraits of humans, so it should be good enough for you guys. Now, it is IP67 rated. It has a lightning port. That is to be expected. But what it does have, which is really impressive, is wireless charging capabilities. So Qi wireless charging. And this is something that I did not expect the new iPhone SE to have, simply because I thought Apple would be on a budget here and would not be able to kind of maintain that glass back that we saw on the iPhone 8. But since they are recycling products literally here, it looks like they were able to keep that glass back on the back there and install that wireless charging capabilities into the new iPhone. So that is really cool for a budget phone that has wireless capabilities. I don't think we're really seeing those these days. So that is a very impressive upgrade here to the new iPhone. Now, as far as colors go, we're seeing red, white, and black. So those are all pretty uniform colors there. And it is available to order 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Friday, the 17th of April. Now, delivery will be around the 24th of April, so next week, Friday. And in between that, we likely will see a lot of products being released for the iPhone SE, like a lot of accessibilities and everything, or accessories and everything like that. Now, with that news of the iPhone SE 2020, we did see the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus discontinued for obvious reasons, just because that hardware is outdated and we're getting the exact same design in the iPhone SE 2020. Now, back to the iOS 13.4.5 update, and with the announcement of the iPhone SE 2020, we might actually see an official release as early as next Monday for iOS 13.4.5. Now, another possibility is that we see iOS 13.4.2, but regardless of which software version we see there should be an update specific for the iPhone SE that will be arriving to customers as early as next Friday, April 24th. So do stay tuned for more news on that, but that is just what we are expecting as of now. Now, next, the Apple Trackpad with keyboard is now available. So as of today, the Apple Trackpad with keyboard is available to order and will be arriving April 21st to 23rd. And other models have been available for the longest time since the announcement of the iPad Pro and the new Apple keyboards, but specific to the Apple keyboard with trackpad, that was delayed due to COVID-19. So we were still waiting on this model, and now it is finally available to order. But what's really cool about this model, just in case you guys didn't hear or maybe you forgot, it is backwards compatible with the 2018 iPad Pro. So if you're like me and you still have the 2018 iPad Pro, you didn't feel like it was necessary to upgrade to the new 2020 iPad Pro, you can still use this keyboard and have full compatibility. But do keep in mind, it is specific to the 2018 and 2020 iPad Pros. If you have an older iPad Pro or maybe just a regular iPad, I'm sorry, it will not work for you guys. This is specific to the iPad Pro lineup. But I am really excited to see this new keyboard come into the studio here, simply because I really want to try it out and see if I can replace my full-fledged MacBook Pro with my iPad Pro, because the 2018 iPad Pro has been doing really well. The performance is really good, and so far I've not really noticed anything kind of drawing me to the 2020 iPad Pro. It's just marginally faster. It has the same exact chip, and I don't use the LiDAR sensor and cameras that I would be getting on the 2020 iPad Pro. So as far as the 2018 iPad Pro goes, I think that will be a pretty handy upgrade for me, getting that keyboard with trackpad. I'll be able to use the trackpad to navigate everything just like I would on my MacBook Pro, and it might serve as a viable replacement in the near future. So definitely stay tuned for more videos on that. I will have extensive content on how you guys can be using that Apple keyboard with trackpad in the future. So guys, that is all of the news for today. We saw the release of beta 2 for iOS 13.4.5. We saw the new iPhone SE 2020 with those amazing specs, colors, and of course, price tag at $399. And then we saw the Apple keyboard is available to order today as well. We will have the iPhone SE and the Apple keyboard with trackpad as soon as they come out, so definitely stay tuned for that. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, get subscribed, and hit that notification bell button so you don't miss out on that future content. It will be coming very, very soon. Anyways, guys, I hope you all are staying safe and healthy at home. And until I see you in the next video, I hope you all have an awesome day.